Well, hello there, and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and today I'm joined by a man who, if he were an anthropomorphic food, he would be a fig Newton, and his name is Mike Roth.
They are chewy goodness. I remember the days when they decided to go off of the fig Newtons and do the fruit. I put them in the microwave. It was such a treat, but now it's been around for so long, it's old hat.
It's old hat? Mm-hmm. Put that thing in the deep fryer, Mike.
And it's a nutritious food. Lots of fiber.
Drop that fig Newton in the deep fryer.
I gotta do it.
We got something there.
I think that negates any of the... It's like it's a health food, right? Still?
It's still a health food deep down inside. That's all that matters. So this week, as always, we've got a bunch of movies to talk about. Pretty exciting week.
Yeah. Lots of movies. I like it when we have a bunch.
Are they good or are they bad? We're going to find out within the next 30 minutes. I promise you that.
Spoiler.
There's going to be some good. There's going to be some bad.
I've been trying to get his scores for a while. He won't give them to me until we roll it.
I hide them. So the first movie we have on the marquee this week is a movie that I went and saw called Anthropoid from director Sean Ellis. Anthropoid stars Jamie Dornan. You know him from 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh.
And Cillian Murphy, who is a guy who I really enjoy.
Okay.
And Toby Jones. You know him from Captain America. He's the little German scientist with the round glasses, right?
Fun. Yeah.
I like that guy. And it takes place during World War II. The Germans have occupied Czechoslovakia, and the resistance is on. The Czechs have formed this resistance, and they have brought in these spies, these guys who are going to work with the resistance on this mission to assassinate Hitler's third in command, a guy who goes by the name of General Reinhard Heydrich, the guy who basically was the creator of the gas chambers and such.
Based on true story?
This is a true event. Kind of like the movie Valkyrie, only that was to assassinate Hitler. This was to take out Heydrich. And the movie is a lot of high-level espionage, a lot of cloak and dagger, a lot of clandestine meetings as these guys meet and form a plan. And, you know, this is big-time stuff. You're about to take out a Nazi general during the war in an occupied country. There's going to be some repercussions, consequences and repercussions. And so the first half of the movie is really just waiting to strike, figuring out the plans, getting secret plans dropped off. And then there's, you know, it happens. Halfway through the movie, the assassination attempt is brought on. And then the second half of the movie is kind of the aftermath and the Nazi response to this attempt. And they weren't pleased.
I don't suppose.
Yeah, they were not happy with having one of their higher-ups attempted to be assassinated.
It seems like a lot of wars started with an assassination.
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, well, I guess we were being jerks.
Yeah, and so the movie's really interesting. I guess it's fairly historically accurate. And I think that the two main actors, Jamie Dornan and Cillian Murphy, are really excellent. Cillian Murphy especially is just fabulous. My issues with the movie, though, are the first half of the movie is a lot of this plotting and planning and kind of going into detail, but the presence of the Nazis themselves are really just vaguely there, more in talk than anything. And so it really doesn't feel quite as ominous because you're not under the constant. You don't see like Nazis at every corner and, you know, stormtroopers kicking down doors very much. And so it's kind of just a presence that, oh yeah, they're there. I kind of like those movies. I want to be afraid as they turn every corner that they're about to get found out. That isn't in this movie. Okay. The second half, after the assassination attempt, now they're coming in, jackboots kicking, and it gets real intense, and it turns into a real thriller. And so I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I thought it could have been more intense, though. I really would have enjoyed it if it was a little more intense. And so I ended up giving it 3 stars. Nice. It was good, not great, but it was really built on the acting of those two leads that really did well. And Jamie Dornan, I was surprised. I didn't think that he was a guy. I mean, I've only seen him really in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, and we didn't care
not
for
impressed,
that. No.
But he was good in this. So.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all you need is just a different role or a good script.
Exactly. Who knew?
Who knew?
What do you have this week, sir?
This week I have Pete's Dragon, directed by Dave Lowery, I believe. I never heard it phonetically pronounced. Basically, we're rebooting or reimagining Pete's Dragon from 1977. It's still in the late 70s. but it's not the same story. In this one, Pete's parents die early on. Like,
classic Disney move. Kill the parents in the first 2 minutes.
Right away, just like Bambi. And Pete grows up to be feral, but he still has speech and all this other stuff. He is found by a logging crew and a park ranger, or was she a sheriff?
No, she was a park ranger.
Park ranger, and it was pretty much about trying to find out what happened to Pete, where he's been for so long, and do you start believing in mythical, magical beasts, such as, let's say, a dragon.
Sure.
That's been taking care of him for a long time. Personally, I thought this movie had a lot of whimsy. It's a very low tone. It's not very exciting in the way where it's going to get your children all hyped up and they're going to be running around all the time. It's just a sweet, calm story with some really good acting.
It's a rich cast.
It's a really rich cast. One of my big complaints about this, though, is I mentioned this on others' movies, but they overuse color filters and washed out a lot of emotion and visual stimulation that you get from natural colors. For the most part of this movie is covered with a blue lens and like formula. It goes to orange to clear. You know, orange as warm, things are getting nice, clear to represent a whole new world or whatever. I think it made the movie come off as a little pretentious. Like the director wanted to put more art into this thing, but actually didn't know how to use a filter correctly.
It's his theatrical debut.
Yeah, well, you know, I've seen he's been talked about for short films, and he looks very artistic, but this is not something that's new. We've been doing colored filters since silent film, and sometimes it's used well, sometimes it's not used well. Really, this is my only gripe of the film, was the constant presence of this filter.
What did you think of the look of Elliot the dragon? Because we went away from your usual dragon, the scaly reptile, to a big furry dragon.
I really liked it. I thought it brought in that soft tone. That's what the director wanted us to feel. He didn't want us to feel excitement all the time, or, you know, like in most Disney animated films. He wanted us to absorb the emotions, absorb the characters, and I think bringing Pete into a softer realm was what they really wanted to do. Yeah. What did you feel about it?
I was kind of surprised by the tone of the movie, actually. This isn't like The Jungle Book earlier this summer, which is real fast-paced and fun and whimsical, and you know, you have a lot of songs. I was kind of curious if this was going to have music, because the original had quite a bit of it.
The original was very corny.
Right,
also.
and I did not care for the original. That was towards the bottom of my Disney animated movies. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought the cast was pretty great. I mean, you have Robert Redford in here telling the story of he saw the dragon when he was a kid. You've got Bryce Dallas Howard as the ranger, who I will see anything that Bryce Dallas Howard is in.
I love seeing Carl Urban.
Carl Urban.
That was great.
My only issue with Carl Urban is he played a caricature of that guy in every movie. The guy who's just going to go out and get that thing, you know, and whether it's in King Kong or in any other movie like this where there's a monster, it's like, I'm going to go kill it. It's like, okay, that's great.
It's a southern accent.
Yeah. It is. Wes Bentley I tolerated, you know, as the park ranger's husband.
Yeah.
Una Lawrence, I love.
She's fantastic.
I love her in everything I've seen her in, and I thought she was really good as the young girl. And with Oaks Fegley, that's Pete.
Yeah.
First time I've seen him in anything.
I didn't like his wig, but I had the same problem with Mowgli earlier. I don't think Disney has a good wig department.
You need to step up that wig department. I like the story about how Pete and Elliot are devoted to each other, and how they form this bond. I thought that was really sweet. I think that the cast was better than the story was. I think that you could have used some of these people a little better. But overall, it was an enjoyable movie. You know, it's a sweet story.
It really is sweet. And I saw, of course, there's a lot of kids in the theater, and I loved how the kids weren't spazzing out like they do in a lot of action movies. They were asking questions to their parents and stuff like that. And I got a kick out of watching the parents quietly, you know, oh, that's just the blah,
I brought
blah,
my 3-year-old daughter with me, and she sat and watched the movie. And every time Elliot would show up on screen, she'd go, Daddy, it's a dragon. I go, yeah. She goes, I'm not scared.
Oh, nice.
Good girl. Good. I'm not scared of that dragon. And I think that's part of the aesthetic of that dragon, is he's a cuddly dragon. He's not a terrifying dragon.
Yeah.
And I think it worked well. So ultimately, I gave the movie 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5. I thought it was a little bit better than good. But again, I have a problem with filters. If they're used right, like in The Matrix or, like, the Coen brothers, how they use it, stuff like that. If there's a purpose behind it, great. If it's subtle to just bring out a mood, that's great. When it's obvious and actually blocking some of the great visuals, then you need
Mike's
to do
got
it.
an issue.
I got an issue.
Issues. The next movie we have on the marquee is a movie called Florence Foster Jenkins, a movie based on a true story, a real lady, from director Stephen Frears. The movie stars Meryl Streep as the titular character of Florence Foster Jenkins, who she and her husband, a man named St. Clair, played by Hugh Grant, are a bit of socialites. They have their own performance club, the Verdi Room, where they love just performance and music and all of these things and sharing it with other people. And he is a devoted husband to her. They have a strange relationship. He keeps his own residence. He has his own girlfriend, which she may or may not know all the particulars about, but he is devoted to her and is almost more of an assistant to his wife than anything, kind of helping her live whatever whimsy and dream that she has.
Yeah, she is the very devoted butler.
That's very much what he comes off as. And they love potato salad.
They do.
Every time they have an event, they have bathtubs literally full of potato salad for their guests. And both of them share this passion for music, and Florence Foster Jenkins especially has this real passion for it and decides that she wants to perform. She wants to go out on the stage. She wants to really get out there and sing. She brings in the best of the best to help her. Her husband, St. Clair, is willing to do whatever it takes. They bring in this great accompanist played by Simon Helberg. And let's get at it. And there's this great build-up through the movie of when she actually sings. It's 20-plus minutes into the movie. She finally opens her voice, and there's a couple of false starts. It's a great anticipation builder. And she opens her voice, and she is terrible.
Yes.
But she's never going to know because everyone is a sycophant around her and is willing to just say, "You're amazing."
Yeah.
And
or they're deaf.
It's funny because either people are intimidated by her, or they want something from her, or St. Clair just truly doesn't want her to feel pain.
Yeah.
She's suffering from some maladies. She's been suffering from syphilis for a long time, and it's taking over. And he's really insulating her from criticism.
And the medication she was taking, too, she's also been taking mercury for 50
Right.
years, which right
you
there...
hear that, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, right there. Everybody, they don't
I've been taking my mercury
They don't
every
say
day.
mad as a hatter for no reason. Mercury abuses the mind a serious amount. And also arsenic.
Yeah,
which,
that was the other one.
Yeah, that was
my
weird.
arsenic and my mercury for 50 years.
And that's how I keep a long life. That's usually not what people say.
Yeah, that's usually a quick way to end it. It's a really interesting movie. What did you think of Florence Foster Jenkins?
I was absolutely amazed. And one of the things that I loved about this movie is a lack of an evil character.
Yeah.
There are characters in here where there's good and bad. Hugh Grant with his mistress and not being sure what if Florence Jenkins knows about it. So easily can they paint that character as this is an evil character. But you also see how much love he has for Florence.
Right.
He's not patronizing her for money. He's not patronizing her because he has nothing else to do. He truly loves his wife. Florence Foster, it's so easy for other filmmakers to make it a character that you just laugh at. But you care for her. When she sings, for one thing, Meryl Streep was awesome in this.
She was great.
She was awesome.
It's not easy to sing bad like that.
She sings no pitch, no rhythm, no tone.
Great.
But just enough where you believe that she believes she's great. You could laugh at her, but you get a couple of chuckles at first, but then you start really loving her passion.
Comes out, exactly.
She has love for this. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of that weather guy from Canada. And he has autism, and at first people might laugh at it. But then you see, whoa, this guy has a love. He has a passion, and he's doing it better than any other weatherman I've ever seen because he loves what he's doing. And that's you get. That's what you get off of Florence Foster Jenkins. She loves what she's doing. and you don't want her hurt. And I could see how Hugh Grant did that. Simon Helberg.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
I like him. I mean, we don't see a lot of him in things.
Yeah.
You know, we see him in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
I believe
Howie.
he was. Yeah, I believe he was also in Finding. Oh, the movie about Mary Poppins, Finding Mr. Banks.
Okay.
Where he kind of played the same thing, an accompanist, I believe. But I thought he was great in this. I thought that he had a lot of great reactions to what was going on around him. He played creepy and super smiley really well.
He was very wooden in his actions, but his voice was very soft and loose. It was very odd.
I thought it was interesting, too. They really played him up to be smaller, to be a real small-statured character in this movie. They even dressed him to make him look smaller. He's in this oversized wife-beater type shirt.
Well, he is.
But it makes him look tiny in comparison to everyone else in this cast. He's like the mouse in the corner. I thought that was really brilliant to really make him the meek character.
Yeah. But so large in the presence of the movie.
Right. I thought that was really interesting. I thought Hugh Grant, his background expressions and reactions as things are going on around him, just his face in the corner as Florence is singing, and his supportive, like, but never breaking, like, nope, I'm supportive.
Yeah.
I thought he was brilliant. I thought Hugh Grant was really brilliant.
I really thought Meryl Streep and Hugh Grant in this was absolutely phenomenal. It's so easy to mess up the roles that they were put in. I think this was a complicated role for both of them, and they pulled it off where you are rooting for both of them, flaws and all. And I love that. Simon Helberg, I did think he was a little wooden. I think he was great for the role. I think for the most part, it was good writing, and everybody else's great acting that kind of held him up. But still, I liked seeing him. I love him in Big Bang, and I hope I see him in more things.
I do too. I think he held his own in this. I think that the message, the overall message of the story that your passion can outshine your talent, and that music in all forms, good or bad, is necessary. That as long as you love it, that music is something that we have to have. And in different areas of society, it gets shut down. In schools, music gets taken away, things like this. And I think that the fact that they showed she's terrible, but she is the best-selling Carnegie Hall performance of all time, it's great. There's
another message in this movie that absolutely made my heart just swell, because this movie is also living a life without judgment. Try not to judge yourself. Be out, and people flocked to it. People weren't criticizing her when they saw the passion and love. Yeah, there was one scene where there was a heckler, and he was heckling for a little bit, and people stood up and said no. People who were laughing at her before, just like they were saying, no, listen to her. She is singing her heart out. She is beautiful. She is awesome. And that heckler was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And he starts clapping for her, and just feeling like there is a world where there's less judgment and more supportiveness just made me... I absolutely loved this film.
Well, you absolutely loved it. What did you give Florence Foster?
I gave this a 4.5. I might have gave it to a 5 if I actually broke down just weeping, going, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. But I didn't do that. So.
That's great. You know what? I gave it a 3.5, and as we have this discussion, I'm kind of edging it towards a 4. I'm kind of pushing it towards a 4 a little bit, because I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah, it's a really well done film.
It was one of the better ones that came out. So far, this is almost as good as Deadpool.
Talk about two different movies.
Weird.
Yikes. And speaking of Deadpool everything involved in that, let's move on to the next movie on the marquee, sir.
Well, let's talk about Sausage Party.
Let's please.
I'm not even going to say the director. The directors did animation film. This is pretty much Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Baby.
Yeah.
Seth Rogen plays Frank. He's a sausage that... In this world, all food is self-aware. Humans cannot see that they are aware unless they are on, what was it?
Bath salts.
Bath salts.
Nope. Which I believe Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg were on as they wrote this movie.
I'm sure they were.
I'm pretty well convinced.
So Frank and his girlfriend, Bun, named Brenda, they escaped from their packages when a douche nozzle went crazy. And... they walk around trying to either find their way back to their package or finding a way to inform everybody that the gods in heaven are not real, and everybody is going to die.
This is probably the funniest scene in the movie we're seeing in the trailer as they find out what happens in the great beyond when you go home with someone. That they just massacre the food. That was probably the biggest laugh I got in this movie.
I did get a couple of chuckles out of this, but for the most part, the plot is not necessary. What you are going to see this movie for is how far can we push the rated R limits? Because it's a cartoon, we could do all these X things, but it's a cartoon, so we're going to push it in a limit where we could still make a profit off of it without actually being edgy and going to the X rating. You get a hot dog that swears over and over again. It's not a creative way of swearing. It's not a long string of fanciful words. It is the F word or the S word. It actually stands out more when they don't swear. Yeah. There was one time Brenda said the F word as the F word, and I was like, whoa, way to break it up, because it's a long string of shouting the F word at the top of your lungs, along with a lot of sexual scenes that you couldn't get away with in humans.
Well, and the thing is, this movie opens with this big song and dance number that tells you basically where you're at. I mean, it opens up with just obscenities to open the movie.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. It's got a huge voice cast of the regular crew.
All obsessed friends.
Yeah, if you saw This Is the End, it's basically everyone who was in that movie.
Yeah.
Along with Edward Norton. Yeah. For some reason, which was really weird. And it's not even veiled innuendo in this movie.
No.
It's not a clever innuendo that they use, but they keep hitting at it. There are some clever moments in this movie. I thought that there was a great clever war scene, like a throwback to the Omaha Beach landing.
Yeah.
I thought was pretty funny. That got me kind of chuckling. But almost every joke is in your face. No nuance to it at all. We're gonna give it to you, and they keep hitting the same joke over and over. It's 90 minutes of the same joke told to you.
Yeah.
Just in a slightly reworded way.
And a lot of Seth Rogen movies, this very much included, it's shock comedy. It's not about the build-up to the comedy. It's not about the air of the comedy. It's about getting to the joke 0 to 100 right away and then hammering the same joke over and over again. I don't appreciate that. I like build-up. I'm not getting it from this. A hot dog swearing at the top of his lungs for 6 minutes, maybe 30 seconds is funny. 6 minutes too much. A feature length is way too much.
Well, and I thought it was interesting where they were going, where they kind of started to venture into a theological discussion about what is the great beyond, this and that. It wasn't just food. There was inanimate objects that were also self-aware. And I thought that there were kind of some things, they assign nationalities to everything. So you have the German mustard is trying to exterminate the Jews.
Yeah.
Right? And you've got a lot of these kind of interplay because everyone has their own nationality.
Yeah.
And I thought at first, I'm like, this is kind of clever. I kind of like what you're doing with this. Let's see where you go with it. And then they didn't go anywhere with it, really. They went to the furthest end of it the other way that you could. And I struggled with this movie because I support original ideas, right? This is nothing I've seen before. I mean, it's reminiscent of South Park, bigger, faster, louder, whatever, in that way. But I'm like, all right, you've got an original idea. I'll support you on this. But it's just the same lame, crude joke over and over and over again.
Well, a lot of these racist jokes, they're not original. I mean, we could say it's original because we know Seth Rogen's not racist, so it's okay that he makes money off of having a Native American as firewater or a black person who's a very racist stereotype of a black person playing grits.
Sure.
I mean, that stuff has been done before and has been shunned by American culture for many, many years now, and for some reason it's okay that he's doing it because he's edgy. This isn't edgy. We've done porn and animation since the beginning of animation. The Japanese have been doing big budget porn animation for decades.
It's Fritz the Cat on steroids.
I wouldn't even say Fritz the Cat, because Fritz the Cat wasn't a big budget.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's pumped up. I mean, I don't know. I really struggle with this movie because I think it's kind of the worst of Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg when they get together to write. Yeah. I think sometimes they can actually be really brilliant when they come up with something. I think this was... I sincerely think they're on bath salts. They're looking around like, wouldn't it be funny if that bag of chips could talk? What would happen? And what about if it was horny?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, let's write a movie about that. And it just... I don't know. I got so bored in the middle of the movie because it was... We're doing the same joke still? really? We're not progressing from this at all?
Yeah.
It was really frustrating. I ended up giving it 1.5 out of 5.
I gave it 1. I was struggling. I was like, I feel like it should be less.
Yeah.
Because it's really not the movie that I want it to be, but I don't expect anything better from
I
Seth
couldn't give it
Rogen.
less. I mean, I'll be honest, I gave it some, there were some laughs. I laughed in a few parts, so I can't be too rough like that. And I can't go lower than 1.5.
I laughed the most because I brought a buddy who laughed through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And he thinks I should give it a 5.
Well, he's insane. Let's take a look at a throwback movie this week. Let's throw back to 1984, a.k.a. the greatest year in movies. And we are talking about another party movie, another very R-rated party movie.
Kind of another sausage party.
Sure was, and that is Bachelor Party from Tom Hanks's his second big movie coming out of the gate after Bosom Buddies and such. He did Splash, and then a couple months later, Bachelor Party came out, and he was on the scene as Tom Hanks. And he's getting married. And his buddies are going to throw him a bachelor party.
Well, you got
what do you have at a bachelor party? Well, you have donkeys and fire trucks and hookers and he's,
lots of drugs.
He's going to get married to Tawny Kitaen, and she thinks that there's something fishy going on, and it is obscene. It is crazy. It is Tom Hanks at his frenetic best, a very young, crazy Tom Hanks, and. Yeah, it's there's a lot of dumb jokes in this movie. I had not watched this in quite a while, and I rewatched it.
I still love it. I really do. I watch it, and it's Tom Hanks doing comedy. I always felt bad that he went more to drama because he's such a good deliverer of comedy.
He's pretty good at both. He's pretty decent at both.
And this is an adventure. A lot of things happen in it. I know Sausage Party, it's hard to say, oh, that one was crap
right.
because it's too crass, and this one's great because this one's extremely crass
Very
too.
much.
Full frontal nudity, actually... Yeah, full frontal, all the way down.
Showing porn on the screen.
They had to use a merkin in this. And, but this one was fun.
Sweet.
It's unique. Every character is a different individual, not part of a racist...
it's because Tom Hanks has charisma.
He does.
You root for Tom Hanks.
This whole
movie.
cast had a charisma. I liked even Tawny Kitaen.
Yeah. What was his buddy? Gosh, he was in so many big '80s movies.
You know, I totally blanked it out and I didn't write it down.
I almost thought Ahmed Zappa, but that's not. It starts with an A.
He
But
made wearing ties on your head like a real cool thing.
It's how you know you're a party animal.
Yep. He even had his little song that I'm sure he probably pressured people into.
Sure.
No, I gotta sing. I have to sing. It's in my contract.
It's a lot of fun, though, Bachelor Party. I have not watched it in quite some time. Watch it this week. Don't watch it with the kids. I'm just going to say that. I made that mistake.
And people have been doing it, don't take them to, if you got kids, don't take them to Sausage Party. Don't be that guy. I know you want to be the cool parent, but everybody in the theater is judging you. Believe me.
Mike says, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
All right, Mike, let's take a look ahead at what is going to be coming out the weekend of August 26th. We have 3 movies coming out. The first one is a horror movie called Don't Breathe. Mike says thumbs up.
Looking forward to this.
We'll see what Mike says in a couple weeks.
It's a Daredevil as a killer. It's pretty cool.
We'll see. The second movie we have is Hands of Stone, the biopic about Roberto Duran and his trainer. Kind of interesting. I like Roberto Duran. And the final movie is Mechanic Resurrection, as Jason Statham goes on his making sequels tour. All I do is sequels, says Jason Statham.
I'm really surprised I haven't seen trailers of this until today.
Oh, I've seen them.
Really?
I'm like, really? Another movie titled Resurrection? That seems to be like the after-colon title of the past 2 years.
I believe they all make money. That's why.
It's like, we got to make it. Well, that's what you do when you haven't made one of these in quite a while. We'll just say Resurrection. That's how... long-awaited sequel.
I think they should make a first of a film series and
call
just call it Resurrection.
I like where your head's at.
Blah, 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 Resurrection.
Yep.
Don't breathe, Resurrection.
I like that. Real reviews, Resurrection. Before we leave you, of course, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace in Sun Prairie. Thank you for showing us these movies and the movies we're talking about seeing in a couple weeks. If you want to find more from us, you can always do so at Real Reviews TV on Twitter and on Facebook. You can find us on 103.5 The Sun radio station if you're right here, and you can find us all over the place, right? KSun.TV has us.
Yeah, you might even find a couple of us at Sun Prairie Cornfest this week.
You might find us there. Who knows? But next week we're going to be talking about Kubo and the Two Strings, War Dogs, Ben-Hur. Wow, what a week.
You had me all the way up to the end.
We nailed it, guys. We'll see what happens next week, though. But until that time, my name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.